Ever pondered how different the world could be if certain historical events had taken a different turn? Welcome to an exploration of history's turning points, the moments that shaped the world as we know it. Delving into what-if scenarios, we'll consider the immense significance these events hold. Today we'll journey through 10 pivotal moments, from the Napoleonic Wars to the Cuban Missile Crisis, and even the storming of the Bastille. We invite you on a journey through time, as we explore what-if scenarios of history's most pivotal moments. Imagine a Europe where Napoleon Bonaparte emerged victorious at the Battle of Waterloo. Picture a world where the Napoleonic Wars, a series of conflicts that marked the rise and fall of an empire, had a different ending. These wars, which spanned over a decade, saw many turning points, but none was as pivotal as the Battle of Waterloo. This was the moment when the tide turned against Napoleon, the man who almost conquered all of Europe. Now let's speculate. What if Napoleon had won at Waterloo? The ripple effects would be massive. Europe might have been unified under a single French-led empire. The balance of power would have tipped, possibly altering the creation of the German and Italian states. The spread of French revolutionary ideals, such as liberty, equality, and fraternity, could have become the norm across Europe much earlier. A Napoleon-led Europe could have drastically altered the course of history. What if the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand never occurred or didn't lead to World War I? A scenario that's fascinating to ponder. It was the spark that ignited the powder keg of European tensions, eventually leading to the outbreak of the Great War. The assassination of the Archduke by a Serbian nationalist in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, set off a chain of events, a domino effect if you will, that led to the global conflict we now know as World War I. But what if this event was somehow prevented or didn't result in war? Perhaps the diplomatic crisis could have been resolved peacefully. Maybe the intricate web of alliances between nations wouldn't have been triggered. Or possibly the escalation of military mobilization could have been halted. All these alternative scenarios lead to one intriguing question. What would the 20th century have looked like without World War I? The absence of World War I could have created a starkly different 20th century. Could a different Treaty of Versailles have prevented World War II? This is a question that has intrigued historians for decades. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in June of 1919, was the peace treaty that ended World War I. But its impact echoed far beyond the end of the Great War. The treaty imposed severe financial reparations and territorial losses on Germany, leading to a massive economic crisis in the country. As a result, the German people were left with a deep sense of resentment and humiliation. This created a fertile ground for radical ideologies, such as fascism, to take root. The treaty's harsh conditions arguably facilitated the rise of Adolf Hitler and his Nazi Party, setting the stage for another devastating global conflict, World War II. But let's imagine a different scenario. What if the Treaty of Versailles had been more balanced? What if it had focused more on reconciliation and rebuilding, rather than retribution? A less punitive treaty might have allowed Germany to recover more smoothly from the war, reducing the appeal of extremist parties. It could have fostered a sense of unity rather than division among European nations, potentially preventing the conditions that led to World War II. Of course, this is all conjecture. History is a complex web of causes and effects, and it's impossible to say for sure what might have happened. But it's clear that the Treaty of Versailles had a profound impact on the course of the 20th century. A more balanced treaty could have potentially altered the course of world history. What if the Battle of Stalingrad had ended differently, or the atomic bombs were never dropped? These are profound questions that, when explored, allow us to delve deeper into the intricacies of World War II. The Battle of Stalingrad, one of the deadliest battles in human history, marked a turning point in the war. The Soviet Union's successful defense against the German invasion not only boosted their morale, but also began a series of offensives against Germany. But imagine a scenario where the German forces had emerged victorious. This could have prolonged the war, perhaps even tipping the scales in favor of the Axis powers, and the repercussions on global history would have been immense. Then there's the decision to drop atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This marked the end of World War II, but at a devastating human cost. It also ushered in the nuclear age, forever changing the dynamics of warfare. But what if these bombs were never dropped? Would the war have dragged on, claiming more lives? Or could a different sort of resolution have been found, one that didn't involve such a catastrophic loss of civilian life? One can't help but speculate on these alternative outcomes and their implications. These what-if scenarios don't just pique our curiosity but also remind us that history is not predetermined. It's shaped by decisions, big and small, and their ripple effects. A different outcome in World War II could have radically reshaped our world. Imagine a world where the Cuban Missile Crisis escalated into nuclear war. In the heart of the Cold War, a 13-day standoff in October 1962 between the United States and the Soviet Union brought the world to the precipice of a nuclear conflict. This was the Cuban Missile Crisis, a historical turning point where two superpowers risked everything, playing a high-stakes game of chicken over the deployment of Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles off the coast of the US. But what if this crisis had escalated? What if diplomacy had failed, and the world plunged into a full-blown nuclear war? The global landscape would have been irrevocably altered, major cities would have been decimated, millions of lives lost, and the societal structures we know might have crumbled under the weight of such a catastrophe. In the grand chessboard of history, the Cuban Missile Crisis was a game-changing move that could have tipped the scales towards devastation. The Cuban Missile Crisis could have pushed the world to the brink of destruction. What if the Bastille was never stormed during the French Revolution? Now that's a question for the ages. The French Revolution was a time of radical social and political upheaval in France. The storming of the Bastille, a fortress prison in Paris, was a flashpoint of the revolution, a symbol of the despotism of the ruling Bourbon monarchy. But let's imagine a different story. What if the Bastille was never stormed? Perhaps the revolution might have taken a more peaceful turn, or it might have been delayed, changing the course of events that led to the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. The ripple effects of this alternate history could be fascinating, potentially reshaping the political landscape of Europe and the world. In the end, we can only speculate. The French Revolution, with all its tumult and transformation, played out as it did. A different French Revolution could have significantly reshaped the political landscape of Europe. History is a complex tapestry of events, each one influencing the next. Our journey through these 10 pivotal moments has offered us a unique perspective on how our world has been shaped. We've delved into the intricate web of the Napoleonic Wars and the profound effects of the Battle of Waterloo. We've navigated the tumultuous waters of World War I, ignited by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. We've explored the far-reaching implications of the Treaty of Versailles on the post-World War I world order. World War II, with its key moments like the Battle of Stalingrad and the decision to drop the atomic bombs, has also been in our spotlight. We've reflected on the Cuban Missile Crisis, a potential turning point in the Cold War, and pondered on the what-ifs of its escalation. And finally, we've journeyed back to the French Revolution, a time of tumult and change that set the stage for modern Europe. In each of these moments, we've asked the question, what if? It's a powerful question that allows us to understand the breadth of possibilities that history could have followed. It deepens our understanding of the past, and by extension, our present. These turning points have shaped the world we live in today. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. We can't express enough how much we appreciate your time and interest. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into pivotal moments and the tantalizing what-if scenarios of history, we'd love it if you could hit that like button. Sharing this video also helps us reach more history enthusiasts like you. And if you haven't already, do consider subscribing for more content like this. Remember, history is not just about what happened, but also about what could have happened.